Good evening to organizer and also dear participants. I am Mohammad Badrul Hasan, currently doing my PhD on drinking water governance in developing country, focusing on coastal Bangladesh, and from the Utrecht University, Netherlands. In addition, I am the faculty at the Department of Political Science in the University of Dhaka, Bangladesh. So I could be part of you. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it happen due to some issues. However, great to be connected virtually. So the title of my presentations is a community management plus model for the governance of shared drinking water system, a comparative case study of ponds and filter system in Bangladesh. So it's a part of my PhD study. Let's have a quick look at the outline of my today's presentation. Initially, I will be talking about the background and problem statement of the study. Then, of course, I will be sharing with you my research question of the study. Then I will be discussing on theoretical framework, which I followed in my study. And then I will share with you the methodology. I mean, what types of data collection method that I employed in my study. And finally, I will make broad discussions on the results and discussions of the study. And I will be ending my today's presentation with a set of recommendations for the policymaker and practitioner. Background. As you all know that more than 2 billion people over the world lack access to safely managed drinking water systems, most of whom are living in developing country like Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a part of South Asia, whereas drinking water scarcity is a major issue. In one statistics, it is found that more than 1/4 of the total population don't have access to fresh drinking water. And it has been found that fresh drinking water scarcity is attributed to a large extent due to the governance crisis, because it has been witnessed that around 30 to 40% of the community drinking water systems get dysfunctional due to the governance crisis, among other issues. So governance. Governance, particularly in case of drinking water systems, means the rules, process, and structure to undertake decisions and also implement those decisions pertaining to the operation and maintenance of drinking water systems. And so far, different types of governance model have been experimented over the global south in order to ensure the optimal performance of shared drinking water systems. So this is the picture where we can have a look. It indicates that until the 80s of 20th century, both public and private governance approach was tried to ensure the optimal performance of drinking water system in developing country. And later, given the failure with both of those models, then community management approach have been experimented in developing country, especially since the 80s of the 20th century. And in the recent times, particularly after the 20th century, at the beginning of 21st century, it has been found that community management model actually is not performing optimally. That's why the hybrid governance approach have been developed and followed in many of developing countries. Problem statement. Community management implies the collective action among the drinking water system users for operation and maintenance of those systems. And being it is shared resources, so community people frequently faces the two challenges, dilemma. One is the appropriation dilemma and provision dilemma, which together resulted in the tragedy of commons, which Garrett Hardin indicated in his famous paper. So you see, that's the governance, that's the community management model I developed actually, where there is a governance that actually leads to the people to provide the inputs to be required for operation and maintenance of drinking water system. And similarly, as per the existing rules, they harvest the resource, they harvest the units from the drinking water system as per the rules. That's the model of community management approach. However, so as the community frequently face different challenges, I mean dilemma like appropriation dilemma and provision dilemma. So you see the where there is no institution that actually resulted the users to underinvest to the systems and also over appropriate, I mean overuse the units of the shared drinking water systems. That, of course, resulted in the destruction of resources, which again, Garrett Hardin considered it as the tragedy of commons. So he also indicated that in order to overcome the tragedy of commons, so institution is a must. So research actually suggests that the community people frequently faces they actually cannot able to devise the institutions for operation and maintenance of drinking water system by themselves. So they need support. They need support from the external entity. For example, it can be public agency or local NGOs or local government institute. So this arrangement particularly considered by many of the scholars as the community management plus model or co-production approach by Eleanor Ostrom, and community management plus especially it's actually introduced by Eric Bowman in 2006. Community management plus implies the joint responsibility of users and the external support entity for the operation and maintenance of drinking water systems. Recently, it has been promoted and developed as a better alternative in the delivery of drinking water service in developing country. However, there is hardly any study to identify the conditions under which the community management plus model can succeed. Therefore, my study attempts to identify what are the conditions that lead to the success of community management plus model in case of governance of shared drinking water system. To achieve the objectives, I have said there is two research questions. One is, what are the conditions that explain variation in collective actions among the end users of drinking water system? And secondly, what are the conditions that explain variation in collaboration between the drinking water system users and public agency of drinking water involved in drinking water systems? This is the theoretical framework. Based on the idea of Eric Bowman, I have developed a theoretical framework of the success of community management plus model, which depends on two pillars. One is collective action among the users, and another is effective collaboration between the users and external support entity. So these are some indicators, conditions that are relating to collective action. So collective action gaining the insight from common pool resource theory. I have developed some of the indicators which are likely to ensure the collective action among the drinking water system users. For example, user group characteristics, relationship between the resource system characteristics and group characteristics, institutional arrangement, and finally, collaboration with the public agency. Similarly, collaboration between the public agency and the resource users also depend on some indicators that I have extracted from the public administration and governance literature. For example, user group characteristics, public agency characteristics, relationship between the user group and public agency, and finally, institutional arrangement. Methodology. Of course, I have employed the case study approach in my study, and I have taken a consent filter as a case, which is a shared drinking water systems being implemented in Bangladesh since 1983. So this is, you can have a look at the picture. So this is the ponds and filter system. So collecting the water from the pond, it is stored in the high raised chamber, and then people can collect water from using the hand pump tube well. That's the concept of ponds and filter system. I have conducted my study in the southwestern coastal area of Bangladesh, where
Mohammed,
drinking water.
Mohammed, you have 2 minutes to finalize.
Okay, okay, that's the methodology and data collection methods. I've collected my data using different key interview with the officials and also focus group discussions with the user groups. And these are the results of my study. Computing correlations with the indicators of collective actions and the performance of drinking water systems. I have found that that's the collaboration result table. So it's very difficult to recognize. So let's have a look at the results of this chart, which indicates that computing correlation, I found that regarding the collective action, large group size, interdependency, heterogeneity of endowments, dependence on the resource system, locally devised rules, and collaboration appear to be the most important indicators that are likely to ensure the collective actions among the drinking water system users. Similarly, collaboration, I found that trust, transparency, and inclusiveness are important indicators to ensure the collaboration between the public agency officials and the drinking water system users. So based on my findings, I come up with a set of recommendations for the policymakers. Firstly, they should set the boundary rules that determine who can have access to the system. And secondly, they should form a user group that are large enough to achieve the economies of scale. And then they should also consider to form the groups with members having different types of resources, because the successful operation of those drinking water systems require different types of resources like money, knowledge, time. So also they should think to involve the users of drinking water system in devising all rules regarding its governance. And they should also focus on mobilizing the community members to contribute to the system. Finally, they should also invest lots of time and effort to guarantee to build up the trust between the drinking water system users and the officials of public agency. They should also guarantee the support from external entity to the community so that they can just operate and maintain the resources by themselves. And finally, they should also ensure the transparency in making and enforcing the rules. So this my study, this study actually already been published in International Journal of the Commons. So here is the link for further understanding. You can have actually access to this link. So thank you for your kind attention. Now, any question or feedback?
Okay, thank you, Mohammed, for your presentation, and clear that not only technology but also governance is of importance. I don't know, we don't have much time for questions. Is there a burning question from the audience? If not, I have a question. Yeah. Shall I pose my question?
Yeah,
just
sure.
Sometimes my impression is, but maybe you can comment on that water companies are not interested in small systems, and that's why they leave it to the community. And so community-based management for me is always a suboptimal system. What is your opinion?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Given the limitations of resources from government side, so in developing countries, especially in poor countries, they actually like to confer the responsibility for operation management to the communities people, assuming that they could contribute, they could just successfully operate that system by collecting the required inputs like money, time, knowledge from the community. But unfortunately, it is not working, because I found in my study that due to the lack of homogeneity among the community people, especially they are different among the community people in terms of their political ideology, clans, economic resources, though they are not likely to engage into collective action. So that's why they need support from the external entity. And private model is not also working, because they always focus on their business, I mean profit rather than welfare. But in developing country, many of the people of rural area, particularly, they are socioeconomically backward, marginalized. So they always wish the drinking water, especially as it is humanitarian good, from government as well as donor agency.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. And good
You're
luck with the
welcome.
defense of your thesis.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank
Okay.
you. It is going to be held 17th November this year.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay.